Thank you to all our customers, our partners, and our press for joining us today. We have our teams assembled here in San Francisco. Everyone wave to the camera. They are in their full red and white glory, and also our team in New York City. You guys say hello as well. We've got an amazing program scheduled for all of you, so we're going to jump right into it. It just so happens today, if anyone's been on Twitter this morning, you're aware that it's Back to the Future Day. This is the day they set to come back to the future, and it was an age of hoverboards and Nike high tops that would tie themselves. And actually, just last week, I saw a video on YouTube about a Canadian inventor who had invented a hoverboard with a combination of several drones, and he was testing it out. He got it going for like 3 minutes, and he was 30 feet above the water. And, you know, this is what gets us excited about Brightidea, the fact that there's a better world out there if people are just willing to take a moment and pause and look at the adjacent possible opportunities. So I encourage you after the session to go look up Catalin and watch his YouTube video. So we're here today to talk about our fall 2015 release. We're super excited about what we have to show you today. I'm going to start by setting a little context, just give you some sense of what you'll see here today, and then we'll get into an update on the business and new product capabilities. And we've got some business model changes that I want to mention as well, and then I'll leave off with some closing remarks. When Brightidea started 16 years ago, we had no idea what we were getting into. It was the initial internet bubble, and people were talking about selling books online and selling ads online, and I just thought that it would be the ultimate place to brainstorm. If you really delve into creativity and innovation, you realize it's essentially about connecting the dots. And for the first time in history, we were going to connect the world on this unprecedented scale. And it was just a super exciting time to be involved with that. And it basically, I became possessed by that idea. I just knew that there would be something in the idea that we're connecting the world, and that ideas and creativity and innovation were all about connecting the dots. And we had no idea who we would sell to or what we would sell, but we were just enamored with this idea. And, you know, when the bubble kind of crashed, you know, in the early days, there weren't even that many people online. It was like people were anticipating a future that would come, and they were investing in that future, but it didn't come immediately. It took a little while to get here. But in a sense, today is our back to the future moment, because now instead of there being 200 million people, there are 2 billion people online, and it's going quickly to 4 billion people online. And that's a fundamentally different realm that we're in than we were back in 1999 or 2000. So you're going to see a bunch of features here today and a bunch of new product things, but I think if you look closely, what you'll see is the dominant design of what a corporate innovation platform is. And we've basically been working for 16 years, experimenting, trying new things, navigating the idea maze. We were a lean startup before lean startups had books written about them, and just trying to crack the code on what this platform for corporate innovation should look like. And it's not just features, it's the business model, it's the go-to-market, it's the way you engage with customers. So I think it's still early days, but if you kind of squint and look and kind of read between the lines here, you're going to see this dominant design. And, you know, I think what we're doing here today is probably our most significant release that I can think of. I think we're setting the new standard for what a corporate innovation platform is going to look like for the next decade. So hope you stay with us, and we have some surprises towards the end. So the first thing I wanted to start with today was our mission, and this is a little bit of letting you guys inside Brightidea, because every month we have an all-hands meeting, and I start that meeting connecting back to our mission, reconnecting, checking in, and I actually start with this slide as if you're on an airplane. We've all been on an airplane. They say, this flight's going to Albuquerque, and if you're not going to Albuquerque, you better hop off the flight soon, because otherwise you are going to Albuquerque. And I basically ask all of our employees, is this your mission? Is this what you want to do with your life? Is this what helps you get up out of bed in the morning? So you'll see over the next couple of slides how we think about our mission and strategy. And again, it's a little bit peering inside the kimono, but I wanted to kind of share that experience with some of our customers and our partners. So the first thing we all agree on here is that we believe innovation is a good thing. Basically, since the dawn of time, man has been using his mind to improve his lot in life, and he's been using the inspiration he sees around him to make the world a better place. And we live in a time today where you have the lowest infant mortality rates, the lowest people dying from violent activities. We live in an amazing time, and so it just helps us to reconnect with the fact that innovation is good. There's always some bad that comes with the good, but over the long arc of history, innovation is a net positive force on the world. And we certainly believe that, and we hope you believe that as well. And we didn't stay in the caves. We didn't stay on the planet, and it likely will not be contained by our biology in just a few short decades. It's really an amazing thing when you stand back and look at the long arc of history to see what innovation has offered to humans as a species and how we've transformed the planet to make it a better place. So in short, we believe innovation is a good thing. And the corollary to that is we want to make more innovation happen. You can see here adoption curves for telephones and refrigerators and electricity. And I saw another chart recently that showed the amount of hours people spend on housework every day has gone down by 80% over the past 3 decades. So we're able, through our innovation, to make our lives more comfortable, and it gives us more time to come up with better innovations. So we think innovation is a good thing. We want to make more innovation happen, and it raises the question of how do you make more innovation happen? So here's an example of Kickstarter. Some of you are familiar with this as a crowdfunding platform, and Kickstarter made about $500 million in investment available to innovative projects last year, 22,000 different projects. So if you had invented Kickstarter, you would have been making more innovation happen. You would have been assisting, helping more innovation happen. But if that wasn't big enough, if you wanted to do more, you wanted to have a bigger impact on innovation, you might the venture fund here in Silicon Valley. That would give you about $1.5 billion to deploy into startup companies to make more innovation happen. If that wasn't satisfying enough to you, then you could start a regional technology cluster like Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley's already taken, but maybe you go over to China and you try and create a new Silicon Valley of China, give you about $23 billion. And if that wasn't enough, if that didn't fit your ambition, you could help companies innovate. And, you know, I think this is a staggering chart when you look at it, that global R&D spend is over $1 trillion on R&D, and it basically dwarfs everything else on this chart. So, you know, we read a lot in the press about Uber and Twitter and Facebook and all these innovative startup companies, but the fact of the matter is most of the innovation that's happening in the world, if you really look at it at the fundamental level, most of the innovation that's happening is happening within large companies through their R&D investments and organization. So we as Brightidea, if our mission is to make more innovation happen, because we believe innovation is a good thing, we got to go here. Everything else is chump change in comparison. So as we look at the journey that companies are on in accelerating or amplifying their innovation capability, we see that journey unfolding in basically 3 phases. The first phase is companies are doing net new activities. So they're bolting on new activities, new capabilities, new teams to attempt new things that the company has never done before. So some examples might be crowdsourcing, an example might be hackathons, you might have a design thinking team, you might be setting up an innovation lab, and the companies can't just convert the whole company overnight, so they're kind of bolting on a new set of innovation activities in phase 1. In phase 2, we see once companies are exposed to collaborative technology and how it can have a transformative effect on innovation, basically coming in and transforming their R&D capabilities or their core existing business functions that need to be transformed. So new product development, continuous improvement, intellectual property, corporate venturing. And last but not least, once the companies get their own house in order, we see them looking outside their firewall, looking to other companies and to connect over open innovation. Now, not everyone will follow this exact model, but in general, this is the pattern that we see across our customer base. So we primarily focus on the innovation program manager, and that is the person that's leading these new sets of activities in the business. You might have a team that's running hackathons. You might have a team that's running crowdsourcing. You might have a team that's running design thinking. These are all new activities, and the companies are appointing full-time teams to basically manage these activities and start to infuse this culture of innovation. Again, all the way from the top, we believe innovation is a good thing. We want to make innovation happen. We focus on companies because that's where the largest amount of innovation spend occurs. We focus on the innovation program leader because they are the center of gravity of where these net new activities are starting in the business. And our mission is to build the best software in the world for managing a corporate innovation program. So that's really how we connect with our mission every month at our all-hands meeting. Basically, what we're trying to do is give those innovation leaders, innovation program managers, everything they need to succeed. So I'm going to go through a quick business update, and then I'm going to invite Steve up to talk about the changes to the platform. The last time we were all together like this was our fall 2014 release about a year ago. We introduced our next generation architecture, which is the most flexible innovation platform available. And we're happy to announce today that over 74% of you, our customers, have adopted the NGA platform. So it's super exciting to us. We think this gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of power to sculpt a unique innovation process to fit your company. In February, we celebrated 1 million customers on the platform, so we're going to round those off. And it's likely we will see the next million happen in the next 24 months. So super excited with the rate of growth there. And we've already collected this year, 2015 year to date, nearly $120 million in recorded outcomes for our customers using the platform. So if you think about that, for every customer that's ever logged into Brightidea, there's generated over $100 in net financial impact recorded in the platform. So we'll have a hand for that. And of course, we've been adding great customers to our community the whole time. We now have the top companies in virtually every vertical, and of course, we have the best customers in the world. But it's important that we never forget the fact that you, our customers, make this all possible. You're the only reason that Brightidea exists. And as I said, we want to make more innovation happen. You guys are the agents of that change. And we're so delighted to work with you day in and day out. So thank you for your trust in us. We really appreciate it. Last but not least, many of our competitors have fell on hard times. The road to crowdsourcing innovation success is not an easy one. And we recently heard that Quirky filed for bankruptcy. Figit ran out of cash and got absorbed into MindJet. And Imaginatic chart looks like a heart attack victim. So what's apparent to me is that Brightidea is really emerging as the early market leader in this category, and we're excited to take that on and lead the way. With that, I'm going to ask Steve to come up and talk through some features. You're going to see a mix of things, some of the stuff for our existing customers that we just, we know you want to hear about, and then some of the new stuff that we're doing. And I want you to see it not just as features, but look for the underlying theme, which is, we really think this is not just features, but it's effectively a new product, and as I'll get to later, it's effectively a whole new business model that we think cracks the code on corporate innovation. So, Steve.
Thanks a lot, Matt. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Well, it's certainly exciting times for Brightidea, for our customers, and really for this innovation space as a whole. I'd like to start, as Matt said, with just some exciting news for our existing customers. Over the past year, we've been really heads down, working diligently on enhancements for our customers and just improving the quality of the platform and a lot of things. So I just kind of like to highlight that. I mean, just all kinds of ideas. What kind of numbers are we talking about? 834 enhancements. Almost 2,500 bug fixes, and at the same time, we've moved our entire platform over to the #1 cloud platform in the world, Amazon Web Services. So shout out. So what are some of these enhancements that a lot of our customers have actually been requesting? So I'm going to go through these pretty quick. One is the ability to assign action items by category. This is fairly new, and this is really driving more granularity, and because you can actually assign these action items with a single step now. So that's assign action items. Next is advanced filtering on Idealist. So now you've got a lot of sophistication in how you can sort your ideas within Brightidea. No more need to really dump it out to Excel and do all your idea manipulation. This one I'm really excited about is our new challenge and program overview widgets. So sometimes our administrators just want to be able to go in and tweak a WebStorm or spin up a WebStorm, and they don't want to have to go into CSS or HTML. And now we've got a widget where you can just add your copy, add your image and buttons, and boom, you're ready to go. So very excited about this one. And then a new feature that's on its way, coming soon, also requested by a number of our customers, is the pipeline moderator role, where you're really, we're going to be able to delegate idea management to another role that doesn't have full capabilities of building WebStorms, but they can actually go in and just manage that idea process. So that is coming soon, so watch this space for that. So how are we facilitating all this? Well, we're bringing on new people. So I'd like to shout out to our couple of new employees, Joe Childress, who's our platform product manager. He comes from Crowdflower. And our new senior director of QA, Matthew Moore, from BitTorrent. So welcome those you guys. Matthew comes to us from the Great White North. So while we're lamenting the Giants here not making it to the playoffs, he's really jazzed that Toronto is in. So again, for these guys and for the whole product team and engineering team and all the hard work you've been doing, again, just another round of applause. So what's new? What's new in the product? Let's talk about the release. As Matt alluded to, we are really rolling out a new software product with this release. And it's really not just about crowdsourcing ideas. It's about managing corporate innovation programs holistically. And I'm going to walk you through the steps of the product. This is just kind of a visual of what I'm going to be walking you through. First, I'm just going to start with a few slides. We're going to go through it pretty fast, and then we'll get to the meat and go through an actual product demo. First of all is the Command Center. This is a brand new product. For the first time, innovation program leaders have one single go-to place where they can track and manage all their innovation activities. So this is a really exciting new feature. There's nothing else like it in the marketplace, and I'm going to get into it in a little more detail in the product. We have a new people management area. Look, people are the most important aspects of your company and the most important aspects and assets for innovation. So we've got an area here where you can actually manage that people process and track the certifications and expertise of your people. So we'll get into that as well. We have new flexibility in our innovations area to manage all of your ideas, of your opportunities, and your projects. And now the good news, the really big news. The most exciting news I think we have to announce today is our innovation apps. Woo! We think these innovation apps will fundamentally change the way people innovate. What we've done by developing these apps is realize that as you look at innovation across departments, innovation is different everywhere you go. So with that realization, we have gone about building solutions for the various different common ways people innovate across the company, whether it's design thinking or hackathons or 20% time. Not just idea crowdsourcing, but all of these other initiatives that Matt was alluding to earlier. We now have an app for that. So we're really excited about innovation apps. We're going to get into it in a little more detail. And to keep the bean counters at bay, you're always needing to justify the value of your program. We've got some exciting new analytics. We've spent 16 years putting just the right data into these analytics that innovation program leaders need to do their job effectively and to provide information to their upper management to justify the value of the program. And lastly, we've embedded a knowledge base into our product of all of our best thinking and best practices of Brightidea, so our customers don't actually have to recreate the wheel. So now, without further ado, you guys ready for a demo?
Yeah.
All right, what you're looking at now is our brand new command center. And from here, as an innovation program manager, I can see my key program results. I can track to make sure all my KPIs are heading up and to the right from people and in terms of their engagement and ideas, opportunities, and projects. And I can look down here and see which of my action items are overdue. It's all encapsulated in one location. Now from here, I'm going to walk you guys through the other parts of the new software. This is Command Center. This is a jumping off point for all of the other aspects of the new software. First, I'm going to start with the people area. Now, as I mentioned earlier, of course, your people are your most important assets of your organization. It's people that power innovation. So here, you can actually easily add users to Brightidea. I can look up my users. If I find Mr. Albright here, I can see all of his key metrics. I can also, importantly, see what his expertise is. As a company, you are trying to continually add expertise to your employee base. So as you go through and get trained on lean startup and design thinking, we can actually track those certifications here. So when you need to tap that resource for future innovation activity, you've got that all in one place. Now from the innovations area, I can actually see every single idea, opportunity, and project that's ever been submitted into my company. And if I want to go into any particular idea, the details of the idea, let's say I hear that one of the ideas from an initiative was implemented and they're starting to see some outcomes, I can quickly and easily go in here and log those outcomes, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You want to be able to prove that you're delivering value through outcomes and ROI. All right, so that's innovations. Now the really exciting stuff is our apps. With this release, we're releasing 3 apps plus 2 beta apps. Those apps are a design research app, a problem-solving app, and an idea management app. And I'm going to walk through each of those first 3 with you. The design research app, if you're familiar with the design thinking process, research is the important front end of that process. And the typical way it works is you will send one or several people out to do some research on a particular project. Maybe it's a consulting team you send out, but essentially they're going to go out and they're going to observe a scenario and report back with notes on that, and then they're going to encapsulate those notes and try to move them forward. We've encapsulated the power of crowdsourcing into this design research process. So we're going to add massive scale to this process. Instead of 2 or 3 or 5 guys in a room with sticky notes, you are tapping potentially hundreds or thousands of resources to bring power and scalability to that process. So let me walk you through how that works. As a design researcher, I can simply come into the Brightidea system and add my notes. Now in this scenario, we're going to use a scenario where we want to do some design research on how to improve the experience of something we're all familiar with, which is the sort of waiting room experience in a dentist's office. So when you think of the types of observations and insights you want to gain out of that, I mean, we can all think of them. You know, sometimes you hear the drilling sound. Maybe you know, you hear, you smell the sort of chemicals in the air. You know, the Novocaine and stuff like that. All these are kind of negative experiences. You know, you might have the proverbial, you know, Us magazines that are from 2002 scattered around. You know, it's just those are the kinds of things that these researchers are going to want to gather insights on. But instead of, you know, a couple of guys trying to figure all this out, you've got the power of the crowd. You've got the power of, like I said, hundreds, maybe thousands of people, virtual, you know, scattered across the country, maybe across the world, providing these insights. So they're just going to come in here, and they're going to add their notes, and then they're going to categorize those notes. And then, as those notes start coming into Brightidea, the team will then do a light scoring or ranking of those notes using what we call our single scale scoring technique. So you can basically score it on a scale of 1 to 7. Now, at the front end of this process, you can see a very familiar, intuitive interface for all of these notes to be gathered. It's a visual interface. So it's really easy to see. Now, contrast this with, a few sticky notes on a wall, and you can see how endless this could potentially be. I mean, you could have hundreds of these at your disposal. All right, so that's the Design Research app. We have a hand for that. Next up is the problem-solving app. This is the one we're probably most familiar with, where as an innovation team, you're going to go out and work with the business unit to identify a known problem in the company. And then you're going to crowdsource those ideas and work with subject matter experts to actually shortlist and actually come up with the best ideas to move forward. And then you want to take those selected ideas, hand them back to the business unit to implement, and then ultimately, track the results of that challenge. So with this scenario, with our problem-solving app, set up with a very simple, intuitive wizard, so you can spin up these challenges very quickly and easily. In this scenario, we have a challenge that we call Stop the Spill. It's a kind of a common problem-solving scenario built around the notion of the BP oil spill. So, how do we stop this horrific natural disaster? So, crowdsourcing ideas to do that instead of, again, a couple of people sitting in a room trying to figure it out. You're blasting inquiries out, everywhere to get that input. So you simply walk through the wizard, define your users that you want to participate, the process, subject matter experts that you want, and then you essentially spin up this challenge. Quick and simple. This is the front end of that, where you can see the environment where you would post an idea and view other people's ideas. So a very slick interface, totally customizable. And then at the back end, it builds a predefined set of steps and stages with evaluation tools. And this is one of those evaluation tools where as an IPM, you're going to send out scorecards to these subject matter experts to get them to answer a series of questions. And then from this interface, you can see, hey, are those guys getting back to me with those answers? Are they following through on their action items? And from the ideas and step area, I can actually see the completed scorecards. And then over here on the left, I can actually identify, well, which ideas are bubbling to the top? Which are the top scoring ideas? I can select those ideas and move them forward in the process. So that's problem solving. And the last one I'm going to walk you through is an idea management app. And the scenario for this, the process or the workflow is sometimes companies don't want sort of a time-limited challenge that's based on a specific known topic. Sometimes they just want an open process for gathering all kinds of ideas around the company. Different types of ideas from different areas. But how do you gather and do something with those ideas? We hear over and over again from our customers that ideas just they fall through the cracks, they get lost. So this process involves a team actually trying to identify an owner for every idea that comes in. So it's pretty straightforward. So what happens is, as these various ideas come in from all over the company, you'll get action items assigned. It'll be assigned by category. In this case, it's by department. So this will be fired off to a department head for that particular category, where that department head would be presented with a series of questions, conditional questions that they have to answer. And essentially they decide, do you own this idea? Do you want to own it or not? And you can say yes, at which point it becomes yours, or you can say no. And in that case, you can send it on to another colleague, you can pass it on. So every single idea that comes into the company, something is done with it, audit trail for it. So it provides a level of governance over this whole idea management process. And that's idea management. So those are the three apps that are being released. We're also identifying a couple of new beta apps. One is for running and managing hackathons. The other is for running and managing 20% time initiatives. And for our existing customers, if you're interested in participating in these programs, you just click on the app, and you can basically get into the queue to request to participate in that program. So again, we're going to continue to roll out these new apps over time. So you'll see more coming in the future. So that's our apps. Now, there's no point in having all this great software if you can't track and manage the results, and that's where our new analytics come into play. We've spent essentially the last 16 years understanding what our innovation program leader customers need as far as the data elements. So we've been very specific about how to build these dashboards to provide just the data they need to do their jobs effectively, and the data they need to present up to management to say, hey, look, this program is doing really well. So I'm going to walk you through two of these two dashboards. The first one's an engagement dashboard. Engagement's part of innovation. I can see engagement from a number of different perspectives, by department, by location, by challenge. And I can look at it over different time slices as well. So it's really a really powerful tool for tracking and managing your engagement. Now, if I look at it by location, you've got different departments around the company. You've got different areas. You've got your EMEA, APAC, Latin America. At a glance, you see kind of falling behind and who maybe needs a little kick in the butt to get going on their engagement levels. All that information is available to you here. Next up is the innovations dashboard. And again, this shows all the innovation activity across the life cycle of an idea, by department, again, by location, and by initiative. So if I go through and look at this by initiative, I can see not just particular campaign or challenge data points, but I can compare and see which of my innovation initiatives, be it my hackathon, my 20% time app, my crowdsourcing challenge, which one is performing the best to give me the insight on where I want to really invest my time and energy. And as it turns out in our scenario, you can see that our crowdsourcing challenge is actually outperforming everything else. So that information is right there. It just happened to be that way. So that's analytics. And lastly is our knowledge base. This is really us as a company taking all of the knowledge that we've accumulated over the years and putting it right into the product. So it's generally accessible. You guys as our customers, you don't have to recreate the wheel. We've already been through the process. We know these best practices. So you've got program level information, you've got app level information. I can just show you here some of the many data elements that are in here. For example, you've got innovation organizational roles that you can take a look at. This is a nice document on organization. I can look at, for example, a sample program budget in an Excel document here. So if you want to figure out how to set up a budget for your new program, all that information is readily available here. So pretty cool stuff. It's all right there at your fingertips. So you guys can focus in on what really matters, and we can do the heavy lifting for you. So that's our knowledge base. And that really sums up the demo. I'd just like to summarize by saying I hope you've seen a sample of what Matt was talking about here, where we're really trying to bring together everything that an innovation program manager and leader needs to do their job more effectively, to set up and manage programs, not just one program, but multiple initiatives, and then be able to sort of drill down and see which of those initiatives are performing better than others and where you want to double down your investment. So that's it, folks. Back to Matt.
Awesome demo there, Steve. So I want to recap and then talk about some business model changes. Like I said, some closing thoughts. The first thing is just to go back to the apps. I know it may be simple to look at as a feature, or there's these 3 apps, these 2 apps coming, but I would say the largest insight that's emerged over all this time we've been working in this space is that there is no one innovation process. It's actually wrong to say we're going to set up a tool to manage our innovation process. One of the things we found working with all these customers is that there's an open innovation process, and there's a product development process, and there's a problem-solving process, and there's a research process. So apps is really the embodiment of that insight. And we're just getting started, but as I said at the beginning, you can really see the future in here in that we're going to be releasing apps for those targeted processes. So wherever you want to start with an idea management process and collect ideas from anywhere in the company, or you want to start with problem solving, or you want to start with design thinking, there's an app for that to speed you on your way. Thank you guys so much for all this work. It's really amazing. So give yourself a hand. The next thing we want to announce today is that we are introducing administrator pricing. And I want to give you a little bit of the backstory on this. In the past, companies come to us by tiers of end user pricing. So they could say, oh, I need 1,000 end users, I needed 5,000 end users. And it created all sorts of friction because people said, I don't know how many people are going to log in. I've never done this before. And worst case of all is if you were successful, if you had 50% of the company sign up and get engaged, you're actually being penalized for that because you had to pay more. This is one of those nagging issues that's been around for a long time, and we were sort of uncertain about it. We had to do a lot of modeling in our finance department to see if this was going to actually work. But today we're introducing administrator pricing, $9.99 a month, and that gives you unlimited internal end users. The sky's the limit on how much engagement you can bring. So another thing we found is that, there's really no one-size-fits-all when it comes to innovation. We've worked with companies that have an innovation program that's been running for 5 years, and we've worked with one that they've really only been talking about it for 5 months. We've worked with companies that have custom needs, and we work with others who say, just give me the out-of-the-box thing and get me going as quickly as possible. And as you look at individual company, it's very clear to us that one size does not fit all. So one of the things we're doing in our sales team is rolling out a new approach, which we call the right mix. And we're basically asking our salespeople to go and ask a series of questions to really assess maturity, existing platform, integration requirements, get it all on the table up front so that we can come back and use the benefit of our expertise to make a recommendation to them. Many of these new program leaders and companies just starting with innovation, they don't know, whether they're going to need X or Y. So the right mix allows us to give the benefit of our experience to our customers in the sales process itself. This is one of those things where we're not just upgrading the product, but we're really upgrading the business model. So, so you'll be hearing a lot more about right mix in the future. Okay. This is our new ad, some of the imagery that Steve was showing earlier. The core value proposition is we're here to make companies innovate more effectively. There's over $1 trillion spent in R&D every year, and if we can move that needle just a little bit, there's going to be more innovation for the whole world to have, and we think that's a good thing. We also rolled out our new website, so please go there and check it out. Some really good stuff from the marketing team. And of course, everything you saw today is available today. So go in, click around your system, check out some of the things you saw, and if you like what you see, we'd love to hear from you. All right, so one set of closing remarks here, and then we'll get you all back to your day job. As I mentioned a little while ago, we believe innovation is a good thing, but I think it's important to realize that innovation is not automatic. Progress in a particular product line or progress at the level of humans is not guaranteed. It has to be fought for, and we understand, just like our customers understand, that it's 1,000 times harder to do something the first time than to sit back and wait for someone else to do it and just copy them. But that's what innovators do, and that's why the hair stands up on the back of my neck when I think about that hoverboard guy in Canada who's who's just there plugging in wires and soldering things together. And it's not easy, but, you know, we wouldn't have it any other way. We can't just sit back and play Me Too. We want to bet on our vision and take it out there to the world. You know, there's this song by John Mayer, and it's Waiting on the World to Change. And, you know, I guess it's an okay song, but in many ways I think it's really an indictment of our generation, because it discounts the human agency in innovation. Like, we can all just sit back and wait for the world to change. I don't believe that's true. You know, we're navigating through really turbulent times in the world and in our country, and if we all just sit back and wait for the world to change, who's going to change it? There's a story from Greek mythology. The Greek titan Prometheus, the myth of Prometheus is that he reached up and he stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. And to me, that's the original myth of innovation, that you discovered something, you harnessed this natural force, and you gave it to mankind. And Prometheus paid a terrible price for this deed of stealing fire from the gods. But every generation of humans that came after him benefited from that. And anyone who's ever cooked on their stovetop knows that they benefited from that original innovator who brought fire to mankind. And we, in a sense, are forever indebted to him. So, you know, as I look at the world, you know, we stand here in this moment, and, you know, as I look back in history, you know, we've inherited this tremendous legacy of innovation. Generations and generations and generations of people have come before, and they fought that hard fight. They stole fire from the gods, and they brought it to the rest of us. And now we stand on the shoulders of giants. And, you know, my question for you today is, you know, what will we contribute to that story? You know, what will be our legacy? We can't simply wait for things to improve. We need to go out and improve them. So thank you all for your time today. It's been a pleasure. Stay bright.